This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house.
Welcome to the House of Hockey podcast. You're listening to episode 40. I'm one of your hosts, Rae Rae.
And I'm your other host, Breezy. 40 episodes? What the heck?
I know. It's flown by.
I feel like we just started.
It does feel like that. It feels like quarantine's been forever, but also at the same time, it feels like, how the hell is it December?
I know.
Like, this year's over. We're done. We're done with this year. It's a little confusing this year, I got to be honest, because it's like normally at this time of year, we should be having like plenty of hockey to watch and the teams should really be taking shape, but that's not happening. There's like this thing called NFL football on that I have had zero desire to watch, which is not like me. And I've just been watching Christmas movies. Like, I've been in the mood for movies lately. What about you?
Definitely movies. Christmas movies, I think, are like a daily thing for me right now. But I do have a question.
Yeah.
Why are all Christmas movies, why do they all take place in Chicago?
Because Chicago is the best for Christmas.
Literally
I don't know.
Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, Christmas with the Cranks, like every place is in Chicago. Why?
It's true.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, Chicago again. Why?
You know, I think because it appeals to the masses, right? Like, it's a Midwest city. It's a big city, but it's like neutral. It's not like as recognizable as New York. So it's more relatable. Like, you could see a suburban home in Chicago and be like, oh yeah, this could be like my city. And O'Hare Airport is like, you know, become so infamous from that Home Alone scene where they're running down to catch the flight to their trip without Kevin. And I don't know. I think it has something to do also with the writers. Some of them, I think, are from Chicago or have some tie to it. And I think I don't know about like tax credits. A lot of states offer really good tax credits to filmmakers, but I don't know if when those movies were made that Illinois or the city of Chicago was offering huge tax breaks, but that could also be a reason. But Don't you love it though? Like, doesn't it just, aren't you like, oh yeah, Chicago is the home for Christmas?
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
although I do have to say
Los Angeles, because it doesn't snow. You don't think of LA for Christmas.
It's not cold. I mean, it's kind of chilly today, but like not chilly. I do have to say though, I had a layover in Chicago it was like one of my first layovers I've ever been on. Don't ask why. I didn't get on my first flight until I was like 22, so that's fun.
That's a story for another day.
That's another story, yeah. But we had a layover. We were going to Toronto, and we had a layover in Chicago, and I got out, and I was like, Kevin McAllister was in this freaking thing. I can't even talk about it now. Well, airport. He was in the airport. And I was like, dang, this is so cool. I texted my mom. I was like, oh my God, I'm here. They were running down this hall. But I don't know if it was that hall, obviously. But
yes, you were in the same airport that Kevin McAllister was in.
Yeah, I was. That's just crazy. I mean, it was so cool. I'm such a nerd. I mean, I knew every word of Home Alone when I was like 5. So makes sense. I just thought of something.
What?
There is an unpopular opinion of, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not?
Christmas movie for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
A lot of people say no, or debatable, but I'm going to say yes.
I say yes. And that's actually really interesting that you brought up Die Hard, because our guest this week reveals something very interesting about Bruce Willis, the main character of Die Hard. You're just gonna have to wait and listen to. But yeah, we've got a really amazing guest coming on. We didn't mention her yet. Her name is Whitney Juszkiewicz, and
Yes.
she runs a. I was waiting for you to repeat Juszkiewicz because it's just so much fun to say her last name now that we know how to say it.
Juszkiewicz. I feel like we do that with every guest. We like say their name like a million times over and over again.
Oh yeah,
I
we
don't
want to
know.
get it
It's fun.
right.
Yeah.
And she is a hockey coach, skills training development coach up in Vancouver, Canada. And she runs a company called Fire and Ice. It's a hockey development like program for kids of all ages, boys, girls, whatever. And we've buried the lead here. She is working on the Mighty Ducks game changer television series that everybody has been buzzing about when Disney dropped that trailer this week. And we talked to her all about it.
We did. And actually, we talked to her the day the trailer was released. Or no, it was the day before the trailer was really released. It was like like the amp up to it. And we were kind of geeking out together because one of her friends had found, like, I don't know, something. We couldn't even search for it, but her friend found something and we were all watching it together and it was really exciting. So
Oh yeah.
to see how excited she was, knowing that like she's been working on this for however many weeks leading up to it. I think it kind of just made us, buzz on it a little bit harder than what we kind of had already started to, just because that was such an iconic movie when I was younger. I don't know about you, but yeah, it was exciting.
Oh yeah. I think the series is going to be great. I like
I
how they
think so
had
too.
modernized it. They're making like modern cheesy jokes just like they made in the other movies. I actually
Yeah.
just watched Mighty Ducks 2 the other day and I was like, I forgot. This is like cute. It's good. It's cute. It's like
Yeah.
this is a good Disney movie. Like come on, these
You know,
aren't.
I really liked D3 for some reason. Like, I know sequels aren't like as good as the first ones, but I feel like the Mighty Ducks did a really good job with their sequels. And let's face it, everyone continues to watch them, and you're gonna watch the TV series, regardless if you think it's gonna be trash or not. It's not gonna be trash. You're just trying to start some chaos. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
I'm all for it. I'm all for a reboot. They're doing it right. And Whitney, our guest, talks about it, what she can talk about it, because she's been working on
right.
the film. So stay tuned to hear her inside scoop.
Yeah. Speaking of, we have a Spotify account.
Oh, yeah, we
We have a
do.
Spotify account. Whitney sent over her pump up jams that she uses for the team. We've added some of our favorite songs that really amp us up
Yeah,
for pretty much
we wanted to,
anything.
yeah, we made a Spotify playlist of like pregame warm you pump up hockey jams, right?
Yeah. And if you have one, you should send it to us and we will add it to the playlist and we'll just make it a cool community playlist that
Yeah.
just reminds us of hockey.
Exactly. Yeah. DM us on any of the social medias, your song choice, and Breezy will add it, and you can rock out in your house before your next Zoom meeting and get amped up.
Yeah. Just make sure it's not anything crazy. We don't like any
Nothing too
thing that could be.
explicit or
Yes,
offensive.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but we'll add it as long as it's nothing crazy and
Yeah.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun for all of us to kind of have a playlist where we can get hockey opinions from all over and I'm excited for it. I love music.
Yeah. I'm ready for it.
Unpopular opinion, hockey style. We just did one for Christmas movie, hockey style. So, the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks, were founded from the Mighty Ducks movie, right?
Hmm.
Now, when you think, I'm a little biased because obviously I'm not a Ducks fan. I'm a Kings fan, and that's just a little bit, unmarked territory. But when you think of the Anaheim Ducks, do you think of the Anaheim Ducks? Here comes Ryan Getzlaff. Here comes, well, not Corey Perry anymore. I guess I just led that up to be a giant fail. Anyway, do you
Okay.
think of them being like this mighty team that plays in the NHL, or do you think of them being the Anaheim Ducks from just down the street from Disneyland? What are you thinking?
You know, when I think of them as the Disney team. Like I don't think of them as this like big bad team I have to really worry about. I mean, though as a Blackhawks fan, we have had to worry about the Anaheim Ducks
Yeah.
for a
I mean,
couple of
as
years there, but not
yeah,
anymore.
I mean they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They have some good players on there. They obviously have gone really far in the playoffs. The last few years they haven't done so well.
Right.
Same with a lot of other teams, and I have no room to talk there. But I still think when you think of the Ducks, I think of like the Disney team. I don't think of the team that gets on the ice that pretty much can destroy any team that they play. So no offense to any Ducks fans, they're good. But I just think of the Disney team. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yep, I agree with you. That's our unpopular hockey opinion is that when you hear the Anaheim Ducks, you immediately think of Emilio Estevez and Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
that's
man.
probably for us non-Ducks fans,
Right.
but yeah. And I'm sure the players on the team don't think of it that way, but
Right.
a popular opinion across the interwebs and in the hockey world, it
Yes.
looks like the NHL is going to be back January 13th with 56 games. This is not officially confirmed at the time of our recording, but that is the rumor. And they've split up the divisions, which we could talk about at another time because I feel like there's a lot to talk about with that. So,
Yes.
um,
And that's less than a month away, by the way. Less than a month away.
Jeez.
So I don't know. I just got really excited.
Me too.
When I thought of it, I was like, dang, the 13th. Okay. Today is less than a month away, and we're going to have it back. And I can't wait. I'm about to just kind of I'm excited to potentially be quarantining in my house just so I can watch hockey all day long.
Exactly. I know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it like plays out. I think it's going to be really interesting hockey because of the way they've separated the divisions because of the Canada US like limiting the travel distance.
Right.
It's gonna be different hockey. Like we're gonna see more of what was like in the olden times of hockey, like back with the original six when they all just played each other over and over and over again. You played the same team multiple times because there was only six teams. So I think it's gonna make for more rivalries. I think it's gonna create some big shifts in the teams. And I think some of the teams are going to have a lot of work to do adapting.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a pretty popular opinion that everybody's got, but we'll see.
I agree. I agree.
Shut the front door. So I had told you guys, I think 2 episodes ago, that I was ready to get a dog and I wanted to get a dog. And well, I got a dog, guys. It happened.
She got a dog.
It happened. It totally happened. His name is Ringo. He's a rescue. He's 5 years old. He is house trained. He's a terrier mix. He's absolutely adorable. I'll post a picture on our social. I'll try to get him with my hockey stick and my like green biscuit or something, or maybe my Chicago Blackhawks puck or something. I'll stage a little
summer
photo.
Skates,
or my summer skates, exactly. And he's just the best. And he sat on my lap the whole time we interviewed Whitney. So you might hear some like because he was like sniffing up at the mic. So that's what that is, guys. And I'm so happy. I had gotten him last week when we taped, and I told Breezy, like we were like doing our pre-show, and I brought him up and I was like, I got a dog. And then I just was like, oh, I was like, started crying. And I was like, I can't talk about it this week. It's too emotional. I'm so happy. And I was like, I don't know why I'm crying. So I was like, we have to wait. She's like, Breezy's was like, that's okay. I haven't
like,
seen
okay,
this
that's
side
fine.
of you, but okay.
No, but it's good. I think dogs bring out the best part of you, and
Yeah.
you get emotional sometimes. I mean, I look at Nate, and sometimes last night I kept saying how much I loved him because he's my best friend in the whole entire world. And then I was like, dang, he is my best friend. It happens.
Yeah, it
It
happens.
really does. Yeah.
So I'm super happy. This is my first dog, everybody. And it's all very new to me as far as like dog mom world. I've taken care of a lot of other people's dogs, but when it's your own, it's such a different emotional feeling. And I'm loving it. He's gotten so many toys and treats and gifties, and like he is in heaven. He's been rescued and he ain't wanting for nothing. Let me tell you, he snuggles. I pet him. We play fetch in the apartment or outside at the dog park, and
Yeah.
he's just the best. So that's the
You know,
shut the front door.
we will say that his name was Ringo. When you got him, you didn't name him Ringo after the Dallas Stars mascot.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. No. Ew.
No.
No. If anything, I would have to name him Tommy, like after Tommy Hawk or like Hawk. But that's so expected. And I
My
told you
gosh.
guys I wanted to name him Bob, but he was already responding to Ringo, but like his full name is Ringo Bob.
I think it should be Ringo Bob Hawk.
Ringo Bob Hawk?
Yes. Your dog's name is officially Ringo Bob Hawk.
Ringo Bob Hawk. No, he's not responding to that. I tried.
Well, you can't just call him that one time and expect him to respond. You got to work on it.
All right.
You want to know Mate's name is Mate Gunnarsson Romagnosi. And sometimes Mate Gunnarsson Romagnosi Toffoli because he gets a new middle name for whoever scores at the time that I get excited. Jeff Carter scores. Mate Gunnarsson Romagnosi Jeff Carter. Just happens.
I love
but
it.
he's always Nate Gunnarsson Romagnosi. That's his name. Gunnarsson Romagnosi. Okay. Don't ask where Gunnarsson came from. My nephew, my third nephew. Mm-hmm. I have 4. So I just go down the age gap. So my third nephew, I had asked him, I was like, what should we give him a middle name as? He goes, Gunnarsson. I don't know where it came from, but it's stuck. So Ringo Bob, you're going to be Ringo Bob Hawk Patrick Kane.
Ringo Bob Tommy Hawk Kane.
Yeah. It's just going to happen. Breezy's barbecue pit. Today I'm doing 2 different kinds of jerky for Breezy's barbecue pit. And I saw this recipe, and it's a 1 skillet smoked pot pie.
Oh.
So I'm doing that today. I have all the ingredients. I'm going to be throwing that on. So I have a cast iron, going to do all this thing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Going to mix it all up. And then I went to the grocery store actually to get some biscuits, like, the stuff in the can. You're supposed to just put that. Yeah, you're supposed to put that on the top. But then I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do croissant rolls on the top to make it a little more flaky. Go to the grocery store. They're wiped out of croissants.
What do you mean they're wiped out of croissants?
There was nothing on the shelf. Even the biscuits were all gone. The only thing that was left on there, cinnamon rolls. Oh, no, now, cinnamon rolls would probably be okay because everyone loves cinnamon rolls, but not on a pot pie. Mm-mm. So then I'm like, oh my God. So I'm looking, I'm searching. Somebody had hidden a couple cans of croissant rolls within the cinnamon rolls.
No.
Yes. So the only one that I only got one because I wasn't being greedy because I don't eat bread anyway. So I was like, I'm only going to get one for this recipe. And it's a sweet Hawaiian croissant roll, which I think is going to be really bomb on this thing. But
yeah, actually, that sounds like that will be good with like the smokiness.
The smokiness and then like the creaminess.
Yeah.
savoriness. So I think it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Oh,
So that's
wow.
Breezy's Barbecue Pit today. We are doing a skillet pot pie on the smoker with a croissant top.
So check out our social media because we'll post corresponding pictures to whatever our Breezy's Barbecue Pit and Shut the Front Door is. So
Yeah,
we'll get a picture of Ringo and you'll put a picture of your delicious, which I'm sure is going to be delicious, pot pie, skillet pot pie on the feed.
skillet pot pie.
Then
That
people
sounds
can
good to me.
see what's up and see what's happening,
Yeah.
see what we're talking
And
about.
maybe Ringo Bob will have an Instagram one day, like what Nate does, and he'll start making more appearances as our mascot on the podcast.
With Mate, yeah, we have two mascots.
We do. Ringo Bob and Mate Gunnarsson.
God, we're like the Carolina Hurricanes with two freaking mascots. Jesus, who do we think we are? Oh my God.
We bad.
We bad. Our podcast is proud to be on the Hockey Podcast Network, and the network is home to many other incredible podcasts, including this one.
We've got Hockey Talk.
Those are the moments you're a sports fan for. Those are the moments where, you're down 3-0 and the team has this amazing comeback. And the guy who you really are thinking this needs to be the star of this team has a hat trick.
We've got beer.
It has a unicorn on the can. An easy drinking beer that's just delicious.
We want to help you understand the sport you love better.
What kind of things are you looking for to understand the game better? Or what's a couple of things someone who's watching the game at home when things start up here in a few weeks, or if they're watching college hockey, what's going on right now? What kind of things would they be looking for to try and understand the game better, or what's happening in the game, that sort of thing?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's something that's evergreen.
Listen to Jackets Debrief, part of the Hockey Podcast Network, and available wherever fine podcasts are downloaded.
Welcome to the house, Whitney Juszkiewicz, who is the founder of Fire and Ice Hockey Development. She's a Hockey Canada Skills Instructor, high performance coach, and WHL ambassador and TV star. What's going on? How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't know about that TV star thing. Maybe behind the TV scene star kind of a thing. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You should own it. There's a lot of people who say they're a TV star and they haven't made it out of, I don't know, Studio City much further than being on like an Instagram ad or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been very fortunate because I'm in Vancouver, BC, and so we have a lot of shows coming up here. Due to COVID, our production companies found a way to make it work, to make it safe, and so we actually have more productions, I think, than, I don't want to say like in history, but in a very, very long time. And there's a lot of shows going on. And so I just happenstance got very fortunate. A friend of mine reached out to me in the hockey community, let me know that there was a posting for quote unquote a Lululemon looking mom. So I was like, sure, why not? As many hockey providers due to COVID, some of us lost our contracts. And so we had a couple extra time, and anybody who's worked in the film industry knows that, it's a good day for when it comes for daily pay. And so I was like, sure, let's try it out, submitted it. They accepted it. And I was a double for like one of my first jobs, and then just kept getting more and more work. And the TV show is actually The Mighty Ducks. And so that's what's so cool about it, is that it was a combination between hockey and acting. So I have an acting degree. I have done, 4 years, got a film and television and theater degree in acting, did all of that. That's actually why I came to Vancouver. I decided to get involved, So I did a lot of work in that part of the world, in that industry, but I always had hockey. I've always had hockey since I was young. And when you're just kind of in Vancouver with the rush and the bus and you're trying to find work and there's hockey instructor positions available, you're like, gosh, I can do this. So you sign up for it. And then it kind of just took over, and it's become what it has today. So when this posting came up when it was acting, I had actually stepped away for quite a while. And so all of a sudden, it was just so weird, with COVID basically bringing my hockey work down a little bit, slowing it down, provided this opportunity. And the work that I do have, like, it just hasn't really conflicted. So I've just been available. We've been filming since September, and we're going to be wrapping it up here. I think basically by the end of next week. I think they're hoping to be done. And then it's just off to the editing room and cutting and splicing and getting it all ready for its premiere. There is a trailer out there. So I believe what it's called Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So if any of you guys are savvy on the internet, I'm sure you'd be able to find tons of information if you just get the Google fingers out and start searching. But that's kind of all of the information that I'm really allowed to share with you, other than just some fun things that have happened to me while being part of the show. But yeah, it looked really good. When I saw the trailer, I got pumped up. I got pretty psyched up for it. And I loved those movies growing up. So I think anybody who has a passion, they're going to enjoy it. It's kind of that same thing that they've done with that Cobra Kai. Anybody who's a Karate Kid fan is totally enjoying. And I think they've done a good job. Like Disney has a good handle on some of their shows lately. So I'm really excited to see what happens when this one gets all finished and cut together.
Oh yeah. Well, so I did a little publicity research to see what we could say. And according to Wikipedia, cool. Which, is of course the end all be all, but that just means it's on the internet somewhere. So we can say that the show is starring Lauren Graham, who was of Gilmore Girls fame. And then Emilio Estevez, of course, is going to be in the series. And that's super exciting to have him back. And the trailer looks good.
Have you run into him?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yes. Both of them, Lauren Graham and Emilio. When I was doing my very first scene, when I had to be a double, I was doubling a character in the actual show. They interact with Emilio. So, we're sitting there doing the scene, and he is giving us the cue to start. So you're looking him dead in the eyes and he's giving you the cue and the cameras are rolling. So, do we go up to them and do I go up to them even when I'm on the bench with Lauren and she's, sitting there? I know that I'm sitting there 2 feet from her. And the one thing that I'm not doing is being excuse me, hello, can I, it's not, like I said, I've done training and stuff. And so I just really respect their space and their area and their process. Right. And then especially since it's COVID, you really almost want to respect their space even more. We've been putting the second that it's cut, masks on, there's literally people walking around sanitizing everything. There's hand sanitizers that are foot pedal style ones they're everywhere. You know what I mean? They really got it together in Vancouver. We're getting tested twice a week. We are constantly on top of this, and so you just kind of respect their space. There was one time where I was I gotta go to the washroom really quickly, and Emilio is skating around in between scenes, and I'm kind of looking, and he looks, and we give each other a little head nod, and he's yep, and I'm okay, he's there doing a job and I'm there doing my job, and it just feels like such a really big team. And the best part is it's you get to cheer literally, it's not figuratively, literally. So if we're doing some scenes and you're acting out and the director's got his microphone because they have him on the PA system so everyone can hear him, and he's okay guys, we need a lot of energy, and it's just kind of fun. You're sitting there getting really energetic and kind of jacked up like a real hockey game, and I love acting and I've always been a part of that. I did a little bit. There's Vancouver Theatre Sports, so I love improv, and I'm not shy of jumping on stage with absolutely nothing in my back pocket. You know what I mean? I've worked in the film industry doing premieres, so I'm not shy being in front of a large crowd of people, welcoming them on behalf of the production company. So I just embrace that, and I love it. It's such, we feel, all of the people who are regulars there doing hockey work, we literally feel like a team. And so with this season finale episode coming up, it's almost like we're texting each other like a bunch of teenagers. We're all supposed to be a bunch of teenagers, and we literally are. We're texting each other being what's the call time tomorrow? Do you want to text when you get there so we can figure out where we're going? And it's oh my God, it's just, it's fun. It's just fun. Yeah. Just straight up.
What how
awesome.
Cool to marry two passions that you have and be able to just keep doing hockey, but in such a different way.
I don't normally get starstruck around celebrities or anything like that, but there's always one person that'll get you. Who is that one person you feel like you'd be starstruck around?
You know,
Mine
you
is
think
totally
it's
like
okay. So
not
you
what
always
you
think
would
it's going to be
think.
like the good looking ones, right? You're always like,
Yeah.
oh. And I literally ran into Channing Tatum, you know, and he was on set with his wife. It wasn't even his show. I was just going to Crafty. I wanted some food. I was hungry and I was going, and he was like stealing power from a plug-in. And I came back to the tent and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm talking to the girls, but I didn't really get that starstruck, like, oh. And then I ran into Shia LaBeouf. I've seen Robert Redford. I've seen all of these guys. But I think the one person that if I saw, and this is kind of embarrassing, but if I saw him in real life, I honest to God think I would lose my mind, is Bruce Willis. And I don't know why, but I've loved him ever since I was young, like totally inappropriate being a young child, loving technically an old guy at the time. But
Yeah.
I just everything about him, I just loved it. And then when I found out that he did comedy I don't know if you know that he did a series with Sybil Shepherd called Moonlighting. When he did comedy and I watched those, I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy, like I thought he was just like this kind of like tough, rugged guy who likes to swear around with guns and like, woo. And then I was like, oh my gosh, he's goofy and funny and dorky. And I was like, it was almost like I dropped a little bit more for the crush. And if I can ever get into a movie, I think like, yeah, like they're going to be like, excuse me, ma'am, can you just back up? You're kind of in frame. And I'm like, just like creeping in. And they're going to be like, that blazing red hair in the background, can you please move it to the side? And I'll be like, you want me to move up? You want me to move? Okay, closer, close. Okay, I'll get closer. And they'll be like, get her out of here. And I'll be like, I'll be waiting in your trailer. No? Okay, bye. So I don't know. I think that's the one guy that might get me. So
Breezy, who's your person? Who were you going to say is your person?
Well, first of all, I technically have two. If I'm going to do like a movie star, hands down, Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen herself, and my favorite Halloween, I would freak out. But in this case, we were talking about just like popular people, I guess. And obviously it's in the hockey world. It's with one of my hockey friends. And I said, if I never get starstruck, I've met tons of people. I've met a couple hockey players, but if I were to ever meet Roman Josi, I would faint. Hands down. Just couldn't do it. He's hands down probably the nicest guy ever. He looks like the sweetest guy. I'm getting a little, my hands are clammy even thinking about meeting him. I can't even do it. Can't do it.
Oh my God. I think my person would be Britney Spears. I wanted to be her as a kid, like growing up. I just like loved everything, like the dancing, the performing, like the outfits, like the whole thing. I'd probably be a little like, hi, like just not knowing what to say to her. You know, I don't talk to celebrities anymore because, did I tell this story, Breezy, here?
Oh yeah, you did.
With Steve Carell.
CBS, right?
Yeah, I went to CBS. And Steve Carell was there, and I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to bother him. And then I was like, maybe he just needs a compliment. Celebrities need compliments too. And so I just like walked over to him in the checkout line and was like, hey, I just wanted to say I love your movies. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, thank you. I mean, you're welcome. Goodbye. And I just like ran away. And I was like, never again, Rachel. Not talking to him.
See, I think that would be awesome. I would love to be able to have a conversation. And like, that's the one thing that I always like wonder is like, I've seen, you know, like I've been like, I know Connor McDavid's uncle. And so he like, we would get to go to some games and he'd be like Connor's like right there. And I'm not like freaking out or anything. So I always wonder, you know, like, even though it is Bruce Willis, like, would I get starstruck? Because I always find myself like, even yesterday I'm part of the NHL CA Coaches Association. So we have, there's a female mentorship program. And so like literally yesterday we were on the phone talking with NHL assistant coaches and head coaches. And it's like, almost like us right here, like 1, 2, 3. Right. Like I'm sitting there with Derek McKenzie and we're having a conversation and, you know, I'm sitting there being like, I'm not getting stuttery. I'm not getting like,
Yeah.
like the cold sweats. Like none of that is kind of twisting me up. And I always find it like, is that just who I am, or is that from like training? Because like I do remember, like I took 4 years where, you get through learning what's called like fillers. So you learn how to speak without saying ums and you know what I mean? You learn how to be more fluid and like more consistent. And, I got lead roles where I was on stage, out into a stadium of 600. Then there was Shakespeare on the Park where you're in an entire park full. And so there's something extremely different with that. It's a certain type of performance pressure. I mean, being a hockey player as a kid growing up and playing on some of the teams that I was fortunate enough to play on, like I got on to, a triple A team growing up as a girl in our local city, then moving into university, getting to play a little bit of Team Alberta. So and I wasn't, I wasn't necessarily the star of the team, but I was one of those players that if you, were having to kill a penalty kill, or you needed to make sure that there was, that defensive end was clear and secured, I was a solid defenseman. And I, those pressure moments, whether it was hockey or basketball, even I played on a really intense basketball team that traveled internationally, and that's in high school. So, I almost love that pressure cooker feeling. And so when you're sitting there and you're talking to somebody, like I'm sitting there in my head being like, what kind of a question can I ask that's stimulating? Like, what can we do to make, conversation? And so like even yesterday, I was sitting there and I was talking to, I'm just going to try and remember who it was. I'm kind of a geek. I made notes so that I could remember properly.
Oh yeah, I have to write stuff down.
Well, you talk about like not wanting to look silly and a little foolish, so you make sure you take your notes and you take care that you don't have the conversation. So like, oh yeah, right. Okay. I'm a big Golden Vegas fan. Like when they came in, I got on the bandwagon and I've always enjoyed them. So I've always been tossing between Vegas and Edmonton. Diehard Edmonton fan. I don't care how much grief I take, I'll take it. I don't care.
It's all good.
But I also enjoy Vegas. So I was sitting there and I'm talking to Ryan McGill, and he's the assistant coach for Vegas, right? And I'm like, okay, Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot. And it's like, this guy's an assistant coach in the NHL. And I'm literally saying that to him. I'm like, okay, Ryan, we're going to put you on the spot. What's the one thing that you should have, you wish someone would have said to you, or you wish that, you would say to someone who's just starting out, kind of getting into that high performance field? Like, what's the one thing that you wish? And he's like, oh yeah, okay, good question, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yes. Like, I don't even care. Not that I don't care. It's just that it doesn't really trip me up. And I don't know where that comes from. I mean, probably a whole multitude of things, but I think that's probably why I found myself moving into like a head coaching stream. I did a little bit of assistant coaching, but a lot of it has been in that head coaching position. And it's not because it's like, I'm the person who thinks my opinion is the most important and I have to like smash it out there. You know what I mean? But it's just, I find sometimes when I'm silent, you just let the room sit and nobody's sticking their hands up and no one's taking charge or something. And it could be as simple as just organizing everyone else's ideas. Right. I find I'm like, okay, well, if no one else is going to, like, let's get it done. Right. So, yeah, it's been kind of crazy, this whole.
Yeah. Tell us about your head coaching. Like, where have you coached? What kind of teams are you coaching? Like, tell us about the systems and what you've done in the past and what you're working towards in the future with that.
For sure. Currently right now, I am head coaching several teams.
No, you're head coaching Emilio Estevez.
Yeah. No, I think we're all just sitting back and getting coached by him. It's been pretty fun. But I've been head coaching. I coach a mixture of not a co-ed integrated team, but I coach a mixture in the sense that I'm head coaching a U15 AAA boys team on the North Vancouver on the North Shore. And that association I've been with for quite a long time. They actually awarded me last year as rep coach of the year. We had a phenomenal season. Like, it was literally a storybook, fairy tale. The team prior to me with the previous coach had made it to provincials, which is like really hard in male hockey. In female hockey, I find it happens a lot more often. Some of the same teams keep going, but in male hockey, like, it's kind of a gauntlet that you really got to get through. There's a lot of games. And so I'm basically stepping into this team after this this man just took him right to the provincials. And I was like, okay, no big deal. And then I was like, all right, looking at the rosters, I was like, who do we got for returning players? I was like, one guy, no big deal. Like, this is awesome. So it was just such a blessed year of the guys that came, the assistant coach that I had just totally fit with the guys. The goaltenders that I had were phenomenal. Like, it's just such a blessing when you get not one, but two amazing goalies that you really don't even care who's in the net. You're just like, that's taken care of. Let's take care of in front of them. And so that was a really awesome opportunity. We won a couple tournaments, and it was so funny. It's not funny, but it was so ironic that like COVID hit us, because we were actually at a tournament in Victoria. We're at one of a Rick Lapointe tournament. And so it was one of his tournaments in Victoria, and somebody in the tournament brought norovirus. And so
that's the food one, right? Where you like,
it's really intense.
Ill.
And so our double A team was in a dressing room right after a team that was getting sick. And so our double A team got completely wiped out. Like, they all left and just like dropped out of the tournament. They're like, we're done. But some of our parents and some of our players were actually hanging out. And so they started to get sick. Like, we were like having such a good tournament, and we got into the semifinals. So we're at the semifinals, and like literally the night before, we're asking, like, do we follow through with this, guys, or do we just get on the ferry and go home before like the worst hits? Because like once it hit you, people could not leave their room. It was like violent. And so we were like, we have 8 people. We have a goalie and we have some skaters, and they want to play. And you're thinking like, we're going into a semifinal of like a AAA tournament with only 8 players. You're like, well, if they want to go, like, you got to go. So let the boys play. And it's body checking, and anybody who's ever coached body checking hockey knows that like you always carry heavy rosters, because so-and-so's in the penalty box, or so-and-so's fixing a shoulder, or so-and-so, like they're always kind of dropping like flies. And by the end of the game, you're hoping in a tournament you got some guys left. But when you're already starting with 8, it was intense. But we literally, the energy, I wish I could just bring it back. It was so insane. Those guys, like, I felt like I was literally going to war with them. I was like, we're doing this for everybody that's already down, and we're doing this for us. And
you're like pumping them up, like,
oh my God, like literally, like it was so intense. And like, I love tournaments because I always bring out the game speeches, right? We always get the pregame speeches going.
And what kind of coach? Yeah. What do you say in your pregame speech?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you like a loser? I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I have this one speech that's called like a lot of the people, and so it all started with like my BC hockey stuff. A lot of the girls, high performance U18 during camps, like they just love it. And so I have a couple ones that have developed, and one of the most insane ones, but people they love it. It's called Mama Said Knock You Out. And so like a very brief kind of put together of it is so I walk around the room and I'm like poking kids with one finger, and I was like, you can go around and bug people one by one, but it's not really effective. It's just pretty annoying, right? And I just like bug them, and they're like, yeah, coach, that's pretty freaking annoying. So then I'll grab 2, and I'm like, yeah, 2 guys are skating around now, and they're poking at the guys, and they're getting really annoying, but they're not really being effective. Nothing's really happened out there. Even 3 guys, I mean, it's a bit stronger, but there's still nothing happened. But I was like, when there's all 5 guys, you have all 5 players coming together. That's strong. You got your first line coming out, and you hit them hard, whack, with a right hook. They don't know what hit them. And then the second line comes flying out, and you hit them, blam, with a left jab. And then the third line comes flying out, and boom, with an uppercut. You get 1, 2, 3, your first line, your second line. Mama said knock you out. Now let's go out there and let's show them what we got. And they're all like, yeah, and they're just like jacked up, and you're just like, all right, okay, back to coaching. Like, what was our strategy again? Like, it was wild. Like, we did really good, and we were playing against a team that was not affected, had all of their rosters. So it was like 15-8 when it comes to player roster sizes. And like, they didn't start winning that game till the 3rd period, when finally our guys were like, coach, I can't do it anymore. And you're like, just do it for them. And they're just like, okay. I mean, we didn't walk out with a gold. like we did in our first tournament, but it was definitely a really fun experience in the sense that the guys were like, I can't believe we did that, coach. Like, that was insane. How did we get through that? And we finished off the season making it to what's called the Final Four. And as ridiculous as it was almost like a 3-way tie. It was our 2-way tie. And there was one team that, going into the last couple of seconds of their game, I was like, we're going to be in a 3-way tie to go to provincials. Like, how do we figure this out? And then I don't know, some guys just like lit it up, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay. And then COVID hit, unfortunately, and those guys didn't even get to go. So it was kind of a bit of a nice ending, in the sense that it's like, we tried as best we could, we got as far as we could, and we were able to wrap it up before, getting shut down and stuff. So that's one of the guys' teams that I'm coaching, and some of the crazy moments of that team. And I also do a female zone team where we've traveled to Toronto. That was a pretty great tournament. We went down there with the girls, took them to the Hockey Hall of Fame, played against some really great Ontario teams. Again, some of the epic speeches, like the girls just eat it up. It was such a great environment. And then just doing development. Like, I have a lot of contracts where I'm just doing development around. So I'm kind of from grassroots to high performance, local to provincial. Like, I just, I don't have any children of my own. And so I'm just literally doing this just to make the sport stronger. Like, I'm not selective. I don't care if you look like you're going to the show or if you look like you're just trying to stand up. Like, I really don't care. It's all about, like, are you better by the end of the session? Did you enjoy it? And are you going to continue playing hockey? Because I don't know, that's just my mindset.
We need so much more of that. Like, we just need that in general in the sport, whether it's men, women, sled hockey, whatever it is, just the like have fun attitude, and not that like huge pressure that kids go under, like to make it to the show. I mean, there's only so many spots, and there's so many freaking talented pros in the ECHL system and the AHL system that are like at their peak, but just due to whatever will never make it. So teaching kids and people coming up in the sport to just have fun and enjoy it and learn and grow, like, that's amazing. That's what you're working on, because that's what it's really about at the end of the day, even the guys in the show, right? Like, yeah,
it's pretty wild to think, like, I have a nice little office in my house, so I'm very fortunate that way to have enough, square footage in the house to have an area that I can claim as my own, as well as our living space. So that is a blessing. But then to know that it's like you're working towards something that is enjoyable. So, like, even on your worst day, it's like, just suck it up, get in the car, get to the rink. And it's like your worst day disappears as soon as you're on the ice. Like, some of the craziest moments. And like, I was never someone who felt very motivated or maternal about wanting to have children. So I never really dealt with really young children. I think that's why one of the first groups I started gravitating towards was, about that teenager, that preteen, 12 to 15 to 16-year-old. I just found that, like, I was at a point where it's like I could see them and just accept them straight up for who they were, and they understood that. So they bought into it, and I felt that it was really important for me to give feedback, and instead of giving verbal feedback, because I find sometimes it's difficult outside of the moment. So if you're working and you're skating and I'm on you, I'm giving you lots of verbal feedback, but a lot of times it's like, you're not going to take that home and remember it necessarily, because you're in that moment and you're almost preoccupied a bit on what we're working on. So I just found that something that I naturally got into was the written feedback. And I've gotten, a lot of players that I had an underage guy last year who was part of that team. And, he was a Pee Wee age player, which is a U12. And so he was an underage playing up with us, but he was tall, like physically he fit it, and he's moved on this year to a zone program. Right. But I got text messages from his parents being like, he looks at your cards and he reads your feedback, and it's like really important. Or one time, like a player who now is in university, his parents were going through his room and they were like, oh my gosh, we just came across like the cards that you used to write him and the feedback. And even with a parent just recently, same thing. They're like, oh, he has it pinned up on his board in his room, and he looks at it. And like I just think when I'm writing those, like I just want you to know that I care and I'm giving you feedback. I'm not thinking that those are going to last for a long time, but apparently, I just keep hearing like other people don't do that. They don't do that. Your kids don't get that. And so I'm going, well, I guess that's now part of my niche, is that that's part of who I am. And
Yeah.
it goes back to that leadership thing, that it's just like, I guess like if no one else is doing it, I'll do it. And that's how that Fire and Ice whole company started, really. It started out with someone saying that I needed a GST number to get my contract and to get my money. And then it turned into, oh, well, I'm opening up a business now. So here we go. And
yeah. Tell us more about Fire and Ice and what exactly you offer there for people who aren't familiar with it. Like what do you do? What can they get? Even like pre-COVID-19.
Yeah, for sure. Fire and Ice Hockey is a company that I started back in 2014, and it had started off just basically, like I said, kind of being something that I could self-identify as opposed to just being my name on contracts. And I did a lot of stuff where I was just visiting people's practices already. So if an association had an ice time and they were allowed development money, then I did a lot of work like that. So a lot of visiting teams at their own ice times. And then I kind of got approached by a couple independent companies on whether I wanted to run their spring program. And I did one for one season, kind of as a subcontractor. I helped out, they paid me for what we did. But I finally, after that, was like, I wonder if I can, and not that this is necessarily the best way to say it, but it's kind of the most blunt, is like cut out the middleman. Can I get rid of that extra set of hands? And so then it turned into, let's just take a risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is ice is not cheap. And when you're purchasing ice in advance, you know what I mean? Like that's thousands and thousands of dollars that you're now saying, I'll pay for. Like, no problem. You'll get the money from me. And then you're hoping that you get the registration. So a lot of the stuff from my film industry and how all of those business classes on like how to market yourself, how to turn yourself into a brand, how to, use social media to your advantage. I did a lot of that. And I was like, well, it only got me so far in acting at the time, but what could it do for me in other areas of business? And so that's where it started becoming on Instagram. And I think now we have about 11,000 followers, just building it, understanding how to provide content. And on our platform that we use with Instagram, it's more than just throwing out like, cool things that we find other providers offering or other people. It's really an area where we want to offer drills. We want to offer exposure to people who we think are really working hard on their own, especially during the COVID. We really took the time to find some ambassadors, kids all over Canada and the States. Like I'm not, we're not sitting there discriminating between who you are or where you are. And, we've even had some kids internationally from Dubai reaching out being like, hey, can you sponsor us? And unfortunately, we can't necessarily sponsor, but we can definitely share. We share lots of swag. We send it out in the mail just to kind of give kids opportunities to, maybe they didn't have a stick handling ball or puck or whatever, or just even getting a little bit of excitement to receive packages and inspiration to continue training. But it's really an area that we don't focus so much on being the best spring program or the best summer program or the most elite only exclusive club. We have had a lot of our athletes progress to what I would call high performance programs, elite academies, and those types of things where they can get their education and their schooling and that kind of that pathway into university or college recruitment. That's not necessarily what we're doing. We're focusing more on player development. And so we offer, again, that grassroots all the way up to high performance. We work with male, major midget players and AAA players, just working on those fine-tuned areas that a lot of the head coaches of those types of programs maybe don't have a specialty in. They know what they want from their players. They know what they need from their players to execute the systems that they desire, but they don't maybe know how to break down why this guy is not, or this girl is not achieving that outcome. Like, and they're just kind of shaking their heads and getting mad. When if you look at it from a skill production side and that area, you're breaking it down going, oh, well, you can't enter in forecheck because your skating isn't strong enough. Like you can't even catch the guy. So we have to work on your agility, your quick starts, or maybe, you can't even forget the shots on net. You can't even get into the actual, into the slot to get the shot off. Like your puck protection is horrible. So you're not going to get the shots, even though in practice, your coach has seen you light it up. In a game situation, like you can't even get in there. So there's lots of areas where we've helped a lot of what some people would call those bubble players, those people who maybe are finding like, oh, this year I got cut and last year I made it. You know what I mean? We're really trying, we're finding that those players are making those teams. Like they're jumping above, like they're getting in there. And it's because they come and they're getting the detailed instruction on the fine specifics of the game. So that it's like a puzzle. When you build the player back up, then you can basically give them to that coach and say, here you go, buddy. You got a solid player. Now all he needs is the instruction. So it's like a computer, like you've gotten it all worked, all the parts and everything are high quality, just input the plan and the program. And so,
see, like as a person who doesn't, I haven't played and I don't have kids or anything who play. I don't have kids, but like I assumed that like any hockey program or any kind of training or development coach or skills coach like yourself, like I would just assume like, oh, they're going to teach them all the things you just said and be able to analyze their game and go, okay, you're weak here, you're weak there. Like, I guess it's a little naive of me, but based on what you're saying, that's not the case with all of these programs. So that's
no, and that's probably I think one of the biggest reasons why parents have enjoyed and it's really tough to say nice things about yourself because it's like, are you just pumping your own tires or not? But
listen, if you don't pump your own tires, ain't nobody else going to do it for you. So, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Like, I feel like women, we like, especially are always like, oh, I don't want to say that I'm like really good at what I do, when it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, you are, like you kick ass, you're doing something great for hockey and these players, you're changing them around like that because you're paying close attention. All right, so I'll say it for you. You're awesome. You're kicking ass, Whitney.
Okay, well, thank you so much there, Rae Rae. That's awesome. But it's true. Like I find a lot of parents will approach me, because all of a sudden they're getting some attention. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm on a AAA team now. So those are kids that are available for if they want to go WHL draft, like, and I've had a kid call me and he doesn't understand why it's even happened. He's like, why are the Red Deer Rebels calling me? Like, why has this happened? And I'm like, okay, like how'd the conversation go? Like, what did you talk about? And then talking to the parents and like being able to say, like, I just want to give you a heads up. Like the reason why he might have been contacted is because he is like a 15-year-old child who is almost like 6 foot tall and he's like thick, massive. I was like, they're looking at him as someone that they could potentially develop and they're going to keep their eye on him. So just so like, these are why. And people are like, okay. Or people will contact me and be like, hey, we have a couple offers of these different programs. What do you suggest? And unfortunately, like I never, unless there's something that I've heard that is very kind of a red flag, I'm usually pretty open and just been like, listen, I don't know which is the best program for your son and help them with those questions. Like, maybe these are really good things to ask. Like what kind of support do you have for the education as opposed to just assigning them homework? They play hockey in the afternoon. Like, do you have a tutor that's on the team? Do you have someone who follows up on their assignments? Do you have someone who follows up on their physical activity? Or did they just get gym and then left to their own devices? What's the financial commitment? What's the travel commitment? What's the time commitment in the day? Can you physically get your son to that place? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So
I
find a lot of people are like, oh, that's really nice. Because they don't think of those questions when they're sitting there on the phone talking to someone who wants them to sign a commitment letter. You know what I mean? They're getting sometimes car salesmen, and you have to understand that not every program will offer
the best thing
for
that
for your
person.
child, what's right for your family. You know what I mean? And I remind families, I'm like, listen, do you want your son to go to POE in the Okanagan or Penticton? Like, where do you want them to go? They're 15 years old. Is it time to say goodbye? Because they will then turn 18. And if they are getting the right training, maybe they will go to a junior team somewhere, or maybe they will choose a school, right? And if some parents are like, it's not time to say goodbye to my little baby, you're like, okay, well,
There's
you
your
got to
answer.
make those decisions
Right.
for your family. Like it's all personal. And I find that, you know, instead of telling people which schools to go to, I just help them find those questions. Like, you know, the answers when you know the question to ask, right? And
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what will fit with you when you hear the answers. So that's a huge part with our program, is like, we're not necessarily recruiting and connecting, but it's all about development. And a lot of programs have beautiful practices, high tempo, everybody's moving. But if a kid messes up, like, look at the instructor. Has he either gone and followed up with that player when he goes in the line, or has he stopped him and brought him back? You know, in our program, that's one thing that people said. They're like, I can't believe you stopped that kid and brought them back to the front of the line. I'm like, well, they're doing it wrong, like blatantly doing it wrong. Like, I'm not going to give you a high five for doing it wrong. I'm going to say, whoa, let's bring that back. Let's straighten it out. And then I'm going to give you a high five because you did it right. I call it the high five practices.
High five practice, positive reinforcement.
I can't stand high five practices, and there's so many high five practices in female hockey and young amateur sport. I'm just like, enough is enough. Like, give them something, purpose, you know?
Yeah, just like the everybody gets a trophy thing is such bullshit.
I do need to say though,
Yeah,
I feel like parents are crazy.
They can.
She can't comment. Don't comment.
She can't comment.
Just
No,
like
but like
Amelia.
I know, like, yeah, like my nephews, they were in high school basketball, and parents are crazy, and the drama that comes with the parents, and like not necessarily the coaches, but like the parents getting mad at the coaches and being like, why aren't you playing my kid? And it's like, oh, okay. Well, so I just have to commend coaches.
Yes,
Real
so
quick.
we commend
just, like,
you.
a little break. Yeah, a little
We
time
commend
out
you.
to
Fine
say.
too. Like, coaches can put themselves in those positions.
Yeah.
Like, they
Yeah,
can
that's
create
true.
their drama, because, and like, that's another thing too. Like, when you say like, what is Fire and Ice all about, and what do you guys offer? Like, we're straight up, we're up front. We don't promise things. Like, we don't sell roster spots. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of some of these programs will only invite particular players, and I've always said, like, I don't want to have the dinner table discussion. I don't want to come into your house. I don't want to have the college recruiter thing where I'm pitching you this and I'm promising you that. And then when it comes down to it, you know, you're on the team and you're playing and you're not playing good. But yet I sat up there, you know, on whatever day at dinner time and told your parents that you would be on the starting line. And then you stopped working hard, and I still, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of those situations that coaches put a lot of that on themselves. If you're up front and you're, you know, up front to not only the parents, but the players, right? Because sometimes the players can go home and say things that aren't true. They're not what happened. They're outside the circumstances of what really happened. And so you have to understand that, you know, if you're upfront with the players, and I am, like, especially in tryout season, I'm very upfront with them. I said, this is the attitude that we're looking for. These are the skills that we're looking for, and the energy. And, you know, I've had those tough conversations with guys who have made the team previous years and unfortunately aren't going to make them this year. And it's never a comfortable position. It's never a comfortable conversation. But if you're really out there looking for the actual well-being of the team, then it has to be something that you have to say. And, you know, I tell parents straight up, you know, similar things, and I'm very open about it. Like, we have this one rule, because I got so sick and tired of having to excuse players. And you talk about accountability. I've put a lot of accountability on my players. And that's another thing, is people who aren't used to us at Fire and Ice, they're not used to walking into maybe a disciplined environment. We're not mean, we're not rude, we don't degrade you, but we do demand your attention. We make you sign a code of conduct that you're not going to distract other people from learning. And if that's not your thing, then we ask you to please leave. And you're not going to get a refund for bad behavior. That's on you. You can explain to your parents why you're gone. You know what I mean? But when you are a bit disciplined and you are in those structures and you are focused, you're going to get a ridiculous amount of praise. You're going to get a ridiculous amount of feedback. You know, we do care about you. But we have a rule, for example, that if you forget one piece of equipment the first time, and that's everything from like water bottle to jersey, like straight up, you forget one, you're sitting a period. I don't care how far your parents drove you to this game, a period. On your second offense, 2 periods.
Right.
On your third offense, it's the whole game. And there's been guys who are like, but this is only my first offense. And I was like, well, what did you forget? And he's like, my helmet. And I'm like, and how far away from home are we? Your parents are not going to drive an hour and a half to get your bucket. You forgot it.
Right.
And when this happens again, that doesn't go towards your game. Like, I'm so sorry, bud. That was your first offense. Unfortunately, it cost you a whole game. Like, and so it only has to happen like a couple times. And then there was another thing too, like a lot of times we have to worry about how they're treating each other. Like it's such an intense thing now, especially me being a female coach with a bunch of males, is how we operate our dressing room. Now it's COVID. We don't really have those issues, but in pre-COVID and regular game structure, you know, you're arriving an hour and 15 before a game. I give you 15 minutes for what I like to call like lightning bolts and oh crap time. Like you got 15 minutes to figure it out. Like, oh crap, I forgot, or oh, I forgot to take my stick, or oh, whatever. 15 minutes, because I'm walking in that room an hour before, you know, and you need to be changed, ready to go for warm up. We pre-game, we pre-ice, they go for warm up, they dress, you know, I'm in the room. And at the end of the game, I come in, I say my piece, keep it short, keep it sweet. I look at my watch and I go, you know what? It is 8:30. Everybody's out of here at 8:40. And at the first they're like, what? No. Oh my God, what? And I'm like, you better hurry, you know? And we leave and it's brutal, but every minute that, you know, 8:41, 8:42, what's that? 2 times 3, 6. Okay. Like we're solid 6-minute skates for next practice. And they're just like, what? Yeah. Like this isn't a joke. Like get in, get out, go home. Like there's no time for chill. If you are showering, get in, shower, get out. There's no hanging out in the shower, getting into trouble, like none of that. No. You know what I mean? It's just the way things are nowadays, and done.
You eliminate,
you know what I mean?
like you eliminate a lot of the like issues or things that can go on. There's boundaries.
Yeah, and we really promote a trusting, safe environment. You know, if the 3 of us were in a working group and we had a major project going on and we had to hit a deadline, like if you felt like I was constantly talking to Breezy and being like, man, like, can't she get it together? Like, this is ridiculous. You'd be like, okay, well, now I'm second guessing myself on how Whitney's going to perceive me today. And I don't really know if I want to bring my best energy or my best ideas or my effort forward. Right. And then you get that animosity and you get all of that, you know, nitpicky and as we call drama. And I don't want any of that. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a place on the team. Everybody has a different role. Like, let's not get crazy. Not everyone's on the power play. Not everyone's on the penalty kill. Like, you know, we have our multi-tools and we have our very specific people that do specific jobs. And you have to understand that you have a place, but just because your place is not the same as someone else's doesn't mean you have less value. Like we all have value. And one of our visions for our team is literally, we say at the very beginning of our team vision is first and foremost, we will be known as gentlemen or ladies. And then second as fierce competitors. That is our number one. That's the first sentence of our program is that, and I get it from other associations. Oh, your team is so polite. And I was like, darn straight, they're polite. They better be, because just like how rugby has the reputation of being a gentleman's game, but beating the living crap out of each other on the pitch, this is very similar. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, why do we have to wear suits and ties? We're not, you know, conforming. I was like, you're on a team. You're all wearing the same uniform. If that's not your style, I don't know if this is the right place, but you know, good point. And then second, I'm like, because we don't show up as slobs. We show up professional. We show up ready to go. We don't wear ball caps, even though I love ball caps, but game days, my hair is done. My makeup's on. You know what I mean? Like I bring it, because if I expect the boys to bring it, with their ties and stuff, then I have to dress that part too. And I've found my way to have a little bit of a feminine flair as opposed to having just like a classic peacoat box style man shoes thing. But it took me a while to find that identity and how I wanted to, still have that very serious professional look, but also a bit of a softness, because I'm not, a guy in a girl's body. I'm me. I'm who I am. And yes, I'm coaching in a men's industry. So it is what it is. Right. And you got to find what works for you in that. And men, they just put on a pair of pants and a shirt, and that's easy for them. But right. Like some of us have to be a bit more creative.
Yeah. How long do you think it will be, from your perspective and being involved in the NHL and coaching and everything, before we see a head female coach in the NHL behind the bench?
I think it's inevitable. Like, it will happen unless the world wants to go like really far backwards. I think we have no choice, but there's going to eventually be change. I don't know how fast it's going to be. I think right now our world is just trying to operate in what it already understands within the parameters that our governments and our different communities are putting on us with this pandemic. But if you're looking into the future, like, I definitely see that it will happen. I don't know who it will be, but whoever she is going to have extremely tough skin and be able to handle all the people who are going to be saying all of the most negative or unbelieving type comments towards her. I hope none of them are, derogatory or really, really harsh. But if they are, she's just going to have to be a duck and let it roll off her back. And she'll also have to be extremely knowledgeable in the game and be probably considered one of our best female coaches of all time, because again, she's going to have to demand the respect of the other people who are working underneath her, and also be understanding that those people have value, but that she is in that position for a reason, and it's not a gift or who she knows or
just
whatever.
Because she is a woman.
Yeah, you know
like
what I mean?
that other
she's going to
side
have
of
to
it.
earn
Yeah.
it.
Right.
She's going to have to earn it. And then when she has it, it's going to be, I can only imagine it's going to be stressful, because even just being a woman in a man's industry right now, your team has a bad game. And sometimes, male or female, as a coach, you're wondering if, like, I don't know about other people, but I'm always asking the question of, like, I must have messed that up. Like, there was something that I did wrong. There was something that I missed. There was something that I should have been more prepared for. I should have done better. And sometimes the answer is your team didn't show up. Like, end of story. Your team didn't show up. The other team was better. They read your system and they counterattacked you and they shut you down, and you didn't react in time. Like, your goalie had a bad day and he let a bunch in. You couldn't recover. There's so many different scenarios, but I could only imagine that whoever that female head coach is on that NHL team, anytime the team is not performing, that stress of thinking, like, what can I do to be better? And how many people are thinking that it's my fault, right? And a lot of times, maybe we let male coaches get away with massive losing streaks before people start to put them under a microscope and be like, what's going on? So I am excited for whoever that is, but I think she's going to be one tough chick. And I think she's going to be a very intense and very respectable and is or will be in the Hall of Fame for sure, because it will be somebody who is very historically impacting on our game for sure.
So do you have any good hockey stories or favorite hockey moment or anything like that?
I think it's not necessarily oh my gosh. Okay, I guess
feel like you have something on like the tip of your tongue that you're
I guess,
I don't know.
there's two really cute. Like, there's one that's really, really cute. Like, so I'm working with like a U7 team right now, and they're so sweet. So like, they're 6-year-old girls who just started out hockey. And because I've been working on the film set a lot, I've been getting into the dialogue. There's dialogue that you say. So instead of saying like, I understand, or okay, got it, you say copy that. And that's just standard. Right? They say, okay, you go over here, you go copy that, and you go. And it's just standard talk, right? And so I remember I was working with the little U7 girls, and I was giving them instructions on whatever it was that we were working on. I can't remember if it was like passing or shooting or stick handling, but I basically gave them the instructions, and then I said, copy that. And like this one tiny little girl with a little pink helmet and cute little blonde curls. And she's like, copy that. And I was just like, oh, it was so cute. Like my heart, like I just stopped. Like when it stops you and you don't have anything else to say, like I literally had to like just take a second, and I was just like, that was amazing, because it was like clear. It wasn't muffled. Like she didn't chew her words. She was clear. She was sure of herself, and she's like, copy that. And I was just like,
maybe that's the future NHL female coach.
Oh, it was just amazing. Like I always, and then I came back, like I didn't see them for a while, and I saw them again, and I was like, hi everyone. And they're like, we missed you. And I was like, what'd you say? And they're like, we missed you. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you guys are gonna make me cry right now. Like, I'm gonna be a tough chick over here. Like, so every once in a while I get like those little moments where I feel like the Grinch, like my hockey heart grows just a little bit bigger. And it just reminds me of like, oh, okay. Because I can get really serious and really intense on like pushing the game forward and getting the players better. And so when you get those moments where you're just like, that's like a Hallmark card right there. Like just, oh, you know, and you love them. So that was a great moment. But when you asked me that question, oh my God, this is so bad. I shouldn't admit it, but it was like awesome, but I should not be admitting this because this is, anyways, it was in the 90s. So we won. So this is going back to when I played midget hockey in Edmonton. And so I played for a team called the Edmonton Rebels, and it was a AAA team. And we had made it past our cities. We were a very strong team. We were one of those teams that, you know, losing was very rare for us, and we just were very dominant. And I think it was just one of those teams that we just had a lot of the right players who were very strong. A lot of those girls went on to university hockey, and a lot of them were scouted for a lot of American teams, even that, you know, there was Yale was just getting going, Harvard was just getting going. And so they came up and they were recruiting a lot of Canadian girls for those teams because they were starting to get some funding. And so a lot of our players ended up kind of going, whether it was Canadian or stateside, they all kind of dispersed. It was a really strong group. But I remember, and I wasn't a senior. I think I was like it might've been my second year on the team. I wasn't a freshman. I know that, but I definitely wasn't a senior. And so, we were in the Western Shields. This is so funny. Oh my gosh. And I don't know where it is, but I remember we like even laminated the game card. It was so intense. We ended up winning. And I think we laminated the game card because I think I actually took the point shot on the winning goal. Someone must've tipped it or something. I know I didn't get the goal, but I got an assist. So I felt very much connected to like, oh my God, I helped this happen. And so like, okay, if this is midget, the oldest we could be is 17. And again, I wasn't a senior. So we were probably about like, majority of us were like 15, 16. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so we had just won. All right. I don't even know how we didn't get kicked out of the rink. Like, how did this not happen? We just won. They gave us the trophy. Like, we got our little medals. We're in the dressing room. Our coaches are in there. I know my dad was in there because I was like, my dad seen me doing this. Somebody brought out cigars. And I'm not even joking. I didn't, because I was all like, oh, smoking's not cool. And like, you know, I was all like poo-poo and a little snobby, but whatever. Like, and I was also scared. I think my dad was in the room, but like girls were like taking puffs on the cigar. I shouldn't do that. I should do it like this, I guess. Yeah. But they were taking puffs of the cigar and like nobody was going, get that out of your mouth. Like they were all cheering and like they were putting like, I don't know if it was alcohol or what. I would like to say it's juice. We're going to say it's juice, but I have a feeling it was beer. But it was juice or something inside the cup. And like, it's not that we were drinking it. It was just in the room and it was like everywhere. And I just remember like being like it was very smoky in there and it was really like sticky from all the juice. And and I remember like, it was like, I don't remember how we got to the bus. Obviously we showered and cleaned up and all of that. Like, I don't remember any of that, but I just remember, and then walking onto the bus because we had to travel. I don't even know where we played, but it was for Western Shield. So somewhere in Western Canada, obviously. And then we got onto the big bus. It was winter out. It was cold, but the whole bus smelt of pizza because the whole back was full of pizza somebody ordered. And the party just continued in the bus. And I was just like, this is the greatest day of my life. And thinking back, I'm like, you would never get away with that nowadays. Like, no way. Like, you're not smoking in a dressing room, right. Period. Like, never going to happen. But I remember, like, I literally remember a girl on my team who regular season. I know she was a smoker. Like she was a high school kid who smoked. It is, you know, and she was like, Whitney, I'm having such a crappy game. And I was like, well, man, like shake it off. It's fine. And then she like throws on some skate guards, goes into the shower, lights a cigarette, and she just like starts smoking a cigarette. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like,
Oh
I just made one. Okay. So then she just has her cigarette and then she played a great game, I guess, after. Like, it was just so different. Like,
Oh my God.
I would feel like that would be the last thing you would want to do when you're like hot and sweaty and like trying to go out and play is just fill your lungs up with that and then just smell like sweaty smoke.
I'm not a smoker, so I wouldn't know. But there's NHL guys that have like come in and they're just sitting there puffing on cigarettes and like that's their thing. And probably not nowadays because we're all health conscious. But like you're talking in the 80s and the 90s, like. I remember working in a bar. I worked in a bar for the longest time. And like, you're sitting there, people are like, what can I get for you? And they turn and they're literally like blowing it in your face. And now I can't handle being around someone who's smoking outside.
Yeah.
Like we just lived in such a different restriction of type world, right? Like
Yeah.
we're
the
smoking
good old
indoors
days.
still. And
What was your like hype up locker room playlist? Did you have anything good back then, or what do you
I
even
was
like
so
have like
not
your
the music person. I
you
never
have
got
like
on the
your kids
CDs.
play anything now?
Oh, now I have to like, I always have to like, I don't even want to talk about what they listen to now. It's so bad.
It's garbage. Listen, I put the radio on the other day and I was like, what is this racket coming out of this speakers? I was like, I can't even, this isn't even music. This is just like noise. This isn't even good.
It is noise.
It's not even
like
good.
When I was playing hockey, I was the kind of player like I didn't want anything in my stomach, even though we had a full game to play. It's like, I don't care. I'll get up at whatever time, get on the bus, play basically empty stomach, and then eat like really heavy after. I've just always never wanted that. But on my playlist, like even if it's like 6 a.m, I'm listening to like intense, and we called it techno back in the day. It wasn't EDM. It was just straight up techno. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just like listening to it because I'm just such a chill attitude that it's like I needed something to rev me up. And so a lot of my teammates were not on that same train. They did not have that same jive. So they controlled the playlist and that. But yeah, now
I don't think Britney Spears like "Oops, I Did It Again" was playing though. Like
that would be on my pump up list.
that would be on your
room.
playlist for sure. For sure.
I
would
could do
probably
that
have
dance.
like what's that one? What is it called? Sandstorm, where it's like do. And it's just like 12 minutes of just like intense buildup. Yeah, probably that was on my playlist for sure.
So
but
fun.
I find like
man.
now it's a lot of really intense, heavy rap. And it's so funny. Like I find myself constantly walking into the dressing room with the guys and having conversations with them. I was like, bit of education. I was like, do you understand what this music's about? Do you guys relate to the culture? Have you done any research to understand what it is that these guys are rapping about? You know what I mean? Like, it's not just some good beats. Like some of the stuff you guys are listening to is pretty harsh and there's some pretty intense messages. So it would be a good idea to understand a little bit of what you're pumping up. And then two, I have to have a conversation with some of their music. I was like, guys, to be brutally honest, I don't feel like I want to go play hockey right now. I don't feel like I want to smash up on a bunch of things and create havoc. And I feel like we should be riding in the coolest car and the music should be pounding the windows down. I was like, we're in the wrong area right now. So, I keep up to it. I like I got my Spotify playlists. I keep up to what's going on. And I do a lot of music actually in practices, and I take care of the playlists, and I do listen to what they enjoy, and I try to censor some of the really bad stuff out. And I'm like, listen, man, if you want to listen to that on your own time, that's fine. But your mom is not going to find out that I had that on the stereo. Like, it's not happening. But I would like, if we're doing an exercise where there's not a lot of instruction and it's just executing plays, yeah, I'll put the music on the speakers and we'll have it blaring during practice. And as a lot of guys in the NHL and other university and junior programs, they actually do it too. And it's smart actually, because if you think about it, there's a lot of distractions in a game. There's music, there's people cheering, there's, a lot of distractions. So you have to, one, deal with that. You're not going to be in a quiet environment where you get to focus and read a book. And two, you have to be loud to communicate. So it gets them actually talking and having to be louder than music. And then three, it just gets them jacked up. Like there's some really fun Christmas mixes. Like there's a really fun Grinch one out there that's like super EDM and like really mixed really good. So it's kind of fun. It's like you get your Christmas and then you get some of your other music music. So I try to keep up to date on the music with the kids, but some of it is the wrong environment, I'll say.
Yeah. I feel like if I had like a pump up song, it'd be like Cherry Pie or something. Like
That's
for
a
some
good
reason
one.
that song just like gets
That's the
me going every
university
time.
one. That was on the university playlist. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's like the one song that like amps you up like every time you hear it, because you like everyone knows the words to it and you guys just go for it. So
Is that the one that's like, she's my cherry
Yes.
pie? That one?
yeah.
I feel like it's from Coyote Ugly when she was like throwing the water on herself and she's
Yeah.
just
Yes. Oh, man.
Oh, Can't Fight the
Intensity.
Moonlight though would be
Oh.
pretty good though.
Dun, dun,
Can't Fight
dun,
the
dun.
Yeah.
So good. Such a good movie. Nothing to do with hockey, but so good. Anthems.
Yeah.
Anthems. You got to introduce these kids to Can't Fight the Moonlight.
well, and that's
Coyote
like the
Ugly.
big thing too, is there's no major like from like the 90s, there was like jam jocks and like all of these crazy like, especially with basketball, right? With basketball, it was like classic having the kind of like that slow creep, and then you just get a little bit more
Yeah.
and a little bit more, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, it's time, you know, and you're getting a little nervous and you're getting a little sweaty and you're just like, holy crap, okay, bring it back down, we're gonna focus, and you're just like, oh my god, I gotta go, right? Like there's none of those things now, and those are the best. Like
exactly.
you need those ones, right? Just the constant kind of the classic what is it, like the Chicago Bulls one? There's one, if you look on Spotify, it's like
Yes.
Chicago Bulls siren one.
Yep.
It's got-
Yeah.
it's so good.
I think we need to like put a Spotify playlist together for the podcast.
should.
That's just,
Yeah,
like,
you
pump-
should. You
pump
should
up
definitely
jams.
Ask all of your guests for like their top
Yes.
3, and then just have like a
And
podcast,
like an ongoing list of like pre-game pump up jams or something.
oh, for sure.
All right,
And then you
give
guys
us
can totally
yours.
just set it up.
You're
Mhm.
starting it. You're starting it. Give us your top three
Here we
three
go.
jams.
Okay, I'll send them to you. I'll DM them to you.
Okay.
All right. Pick your 3, girl. We're gonna
All
kick it
right.
off.
Ooh, the pressure's on.
No waiting. Like you said, you're like, and nobody's just raising their hand. All right, I'll do it. We're gonna do it. We're doing it. You're starting it off.
All right.
Exactly.
So what
Copy
do you
that.
There you go.
copy that?
Yeah. Copy that.
I love it. Where do you see the professional women's hockey going in the next 5 years?
I would like to see it get some sponsorship, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, like straight up.
Money.
Otherwise, those ladies aren't going to be able to. You have to have some kind of a baseline of income to maneuver and to work with.
Yeah.
Right. And that was actually one reason why I found myself dropping out of senior women's hockey, even on the Pacific coast over here, was just the pure fact of, okay, this is going to cost me how much? And every time we travel somewhere, like I have to pay for the hotel. And so it just really turned into like, one, can I get the time away from work if I have to work because I'm not making anything playing on these teams? And then 2, I have to not only make enough money to survive, I need time off, and then I have to pay for my hockey and my travel expenses. So, I mean, just pure that in itself for operation fees is something that I hope that in 5 years is a non-issue, to be perfectly honest. I really hope it's a non-issue. And I really hope that as we start seeing some of these players, when it comes down to like skill wise, be able to match the guys. Like I think we need to bring back a little bit of that. Remember back in the Michael Jordan days when it was like, you know, I can do what Mike does. And there was like a whole, yes, it was a Nike campaign, but there was like a whole campaign of being like, I can be just as good as you. I think we need to have not, you know, if it has to be a campaign because they want to get some sponsorship from a company, then do it. You know what I mean? Like make the money flow if you can, however you can do it in a positive way. So I hope that is definitely something that comes out of it. I hope that we have more teams. I hope that we have more feeder systems from high performance minor teams into those types of programs, whether it's from university in there or straight. Just something that is a pathway so that women who are learning the game, who are growing up in the game, have an understanding to go, oh, okay, so here's a pathway that I can follow. You know, a lot of the guys, there's very different pathways that they can follow and they're lined out for them. And so they just have to figure out which one works best for them, in which route they're going to hopefully go. Yeah. Well, with the women, a lot of it is they don't know. There's still a lot of parents, or even that don't know what's out there. They don't know how to, for lack of a better term, market their daughter. And so I think when you talk about like crazy parents, that's probably where some of the stress comes from, because they feel like they're missing out on that opportunity. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know if it was the right person to talk to. Like, was that the right? And I just find like everything's such a hush hush kind of insider deal. I would love to see that disappear and have these very clear drawn, pathways. This is how you can get into the university. Our university and college pathways, they're pretty lined out. We're starting to have these academy programs, but after that, like, how are women getting into these programs? And then how are they being seen? Because if there's no spectators, then why would someone want to sponsor a program? Because no one's going to see their product. No one's going to see their name. So I just want it to become the conversation to not become, how can we get it going? I would love the conversation to become, this is how we've gotten it going and this is how we keep it growing. And so if that's something that a lot of the women that are on the ground working in those areas and really pushing those campaigns and those issues, then I just want to give them as much positive energy as possible and support, and know that there's people from all over the place like me that are developing the women that want to play in your league. You know what I mean? They're coming, and we just want to have a place for them so that they don't want to quit. They feel like, oh, that's the pathway. Okay, there's somewhere to go. There's a future. And that's really in 5 years that future is here. It's now that it's realized. Those pathways are solidified.
Yeah. Well, you're taking us there, girl. You're taking us there. You're taking us there. I feel like we heard that very clearly from one of our guests a few episodes back. We interviewed 3 of the girls on the university team in Maine at UNE, and we asked them, like, so what's your goal? What are you going to do after college hockey? And they're like, going to get my major in like sports medicine. And they when they even got into the program, talking about them growing up, it wasn't like a very direct line to the path for a woman to play hockey in any sort of capacity, whether it is a professional league or even just to college. I mean, those roads are still being, really put together. So you're dead on balls accurate with that. So, yeah, that's good news to hear about the sport.
Who is your favorite hunk of hockey?
Oh my God. Is it even like, I feel so bad because I don't like the team he's playing on though.
That's okay. That happens.
Okay. Like I said, because I'm an Edmonton fan, I used to, and I guess a little starstruck because like when I came and watched him when he was playing in Vancouver, it was just mind-boggling that I was like standing by the glass and he was standing on the ice and we were almost the same height. I was just like, you're a freaking monster. And it was Milan Lucic. And I really enjoyed, I know so many people like, I'm going to get booed on this one, but I don't care. People call him a gorilla and I don't care. I just think he's just,
definitely.
He's just a monster. And I think it would be interesting to have dinner with him.
He's got good facial structure. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whitney's like, yeah, I know. I got a picture
on
the other side of the wall that you can't see.
But I wasn't a fan with him when he went to Calgary. He looks ugly in that jersey. It doesn't look good on him.
No.
It's a bad jersey.
It's not his color.
He was good in black. He's good in black and silver, though.
Yeah. I could take that. It's just the Calgary. It looks bad. It's really
bad. No,
you can't get it off. Like, it just gets stuck on you and you can't wash it off. It's
yeah. Oh, it's...
I love it.
Oh, my family in Calgary are going to be like, we heard you, Whitney.
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny. Okay, so who is your favorite hockey lady?
I have to say that recently I've become a massive fan of Cami Granado. I've been a really big fan. And I think it's only because really I've had some of the interactions and some of the webinars and the mentorship programs that I'm in. She's come in and also just been a part of that, and getting to talk to her about where she's been, what she's doing currently right now is just, and again, being able to talk to her and have like a legit real conversation and not feeling like, oh my gosh, like you've accomplished so much and I'm so far down here. Like, it was just really wonderful to talk across the table, just like straight up, and have a real conversation. So for what she's doing and what she's already accomplished, like I have nothing but support, and couldn't say more positive and praiseful things about her journey and her path. So
we've had a common occurrence with a lot of our guests on the show that they have a Sidney Crosby story. So we've just decided to make it a part of our 3 questions. So do you have a Sidney Crosby story?
I don't.
That's
actually.
okay.
I don't.
That's
I never really
okay.
hung out in any areas that he would be. And
Yeah, you're
especially-
like
You
the
mean
complete opposite
you're not friends with
side.
them?
Yeah.
yeah,
not
no,
friends
we
with-
don't like talk often, and COVID
No.
really hasn't wrecked our friendship. So
No Christmas cards in between the two of you, nothing like just kidding.
no, the closest we get to cards is, I think, like the Tim Hortons cards. So that's
Yeah.
probably as close as we get to me and Sid the Kid. But it was definitely someone that, was a massive part of my upbringing. He was, the guy to look at. But like I said, I probably have like closer interactions with Connor McDavid than I do with Sidney Crosby. So I think that's kind of cool in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But really, no, I don't have any Sid stories. So
That's okay.
Unfortunately,
that's
I
okay.
a big X on that one.
You said you've met / had encounters with Connor McDavid. What about any other NHL guys, current or past?
It's so funny. A lot of my NHL interactions have actually transitioned away from players, just because I find
Right.
a lot of those opportunities are for a lot of the youth programs, where we're offering like meet so and so, but I find a lot of my interactions have moved into the coaching staffs actually. So before a game, we got the guys in the room with some of the Vancouver Canucks coaching staff of last year, and just had some good conversations with them, trying to get, me having a conversation with the coach to almost like prep him for a question so that the boys can hear and understand. So a lot of it has transitioned into that side, where it's a lot of kind of that administration bench boss type personnel that I get to meet, which is really, really cool. And not as much of the players. I hope one day that if there is interactions, maybe it's like seeing me as like a skills coach, and that I would love to try and get involved that way. And there's I'm part of the Canucks mentorship program. And if they ever allow themselves to kind of allow people outside of their bubble back in, we're looking to maybe build some of those types of relationships with the organization. But right now everything's on hold just because they're trying to get their season up and running. There's a lot of things that they're dealing with their players. So not much access, pardon me, to those guys. But
Where can everybody follow you, keep up with you? We know that we'll be able to see you in some capacity in the Mighty Ducks TV series. So everybody keep a lookout for that in 2021. But outside of that, where can people follow you and take coaching from you and training and all that good stuff?
well, hopefully when it's all aired, you'll be able to see a very clear image of me in the season finale, but I can't tell you why. But that'll be a very exciting day tomorrow on set. But you can always find me at my website on the World Wide Web at fireandicehockey.com. And if you happen to be in our area, if you are listening and you happen to be in the Fraser Valley area, we do have holiday camps on right now. There's space limited, but we do ask that you're from our region, just because we're respecting health borders right now and keeping guys a little bit more safer. But if you're interactive and you're on social media, you can definitely check us out on our Instagram. That's at Fire and Ice Hockey. And then if you're in the Twitter world, you can check us out at Fire and Ice HOC for Hawk. So those are 2 areas. We also do have ourselves on Facebook. You can just look us up, Fire and Ice Hockey, if that's more your style. But those are the major platforms that we're on. And otherwise, you can just go on the website, send us an email, inquire, or have a good conversation, whatever you're feeling. Just reach out. We're pretty friendly, and we do get back to people. So whatever works for you.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.